the Buddha. And the word came from the Sanskrit root to know, to awaken, and to become aware. Buddha as a title may be translated as the awakened one. What is Dharma? Dharma is the teachings of the Buddha are called the Dharma. The collections of his teaching is called the canon. And the term Tripitaka, when you start to read a little bit more about Buddhism, you may heard about this word, Tripitaka. This is again a Sanskrit word, which means tree basket, literally mean tree basket. It's actually groups of texts that ideally constitute a canon, which are the Vinaya, the code of discipline, and it's actually meant for the monastic. And then we have the sutras or the scriptures. And the last one is Abhidhamma. They are commentary on the sutras or scriptures. And then the last one is the Sangha, which is the Buddhist monastic order. It composed of the 4 groups of monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen. So once you become a Buddhist, you are also considered part of this monastic order. And what does this Sangha do? Their role is to preserve and teach the Buddha's original teachings and providing spiritual support for the lay Buddhist community. So this is a very brief discussion of what the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are all about. However, if you really want to know in a deeper sense what these are all about, especially the Buddha and the Dharma, it will require some in-depth studying and understanding who Buddha was, and then what are the Dharmas, and why this Dharma is so important and why it can last for so long, for more than 2,500 years.
Thank you very much, Venerable Juedi, for that brief description of the Triple Gem. Much appreciated. So now I want to ask the question, how do you see, and I'm going to ask for Hein first, I think. Hein, how do you see the Triple Gem in your life?
Well, for me, like all other Buddhists, and as Master have quite indicated correctly, it's for me the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But I rather, in my personal life, I see the Buddha as my guide, the Dharma as a map, and the Sangha as my travel companions. The Buddha, once again, this is my view about it, if you wish, discovered the way to end suffering. He gave us a map, and that map is the Dharma and all the sutras that it includes, and as well as the travel companions on the way to support us. Of course, you know, as with everything in life, we can't do it by ourselves. We need support around us, and that's the nuns, but also our lay brothers and sisters that will assist us. And in that sense, the Triple Gem is a guiding light, knowing also it serves as an anchor and a harbor in my life. What gives me some comfort is that the Buddha was a human, and he was able to find a way to end suffering. He gave us a way to live according to the wisdom he developed, and most notably, so we most probably all know the Four Noble Truths. So that's in brief how I see the Triple Gem in my life.
I like this analogy by Hein. The Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are called jewels because each of these is a precious and necessary element of the Buddhist path. And with regards to Buddha, I was introduced to the story of Buddha when I was 10 years old. I was told that he was an Indian prince and gave up his wealth and fame in search of the truth. Wow, that was really amazing. I couldn't do that. I thought to myself then, and immediately I had full respect of him. With regards to the Dharma, I started to wonder what was the truth that Buddha has discovered, and how does this help to solve the problems of old age, sickness, and death? And I only gotten to know that the solutions are called Dharma until many years later. As for the Sangha, I see them as mentors, as companions on our Buddhist path.
And we're going to ask Hein, Hein, why did you become a Buddhist?
Well, why not? When I first encountered Buddhism, I thought the Four Noble Truths in its simple terms makes a lot of sense on a practical level for me. In our life, we encounter difficulties with ourselves, other people, or just sometimes things around us. And this, I understand, is what the Buddha called dissatisfaction. This feeling of dissatisfaction, and that's all what it is basically, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a feeling, is also sometimes called suffering. And that comes from our unwholesome wishes to get something that we cannot obtain, desires, if you want to use that word, or we want to keep something that we are unable to keep. As we know, everything eventually perishes and comes to an end. And this is called attachment, or as I said earlier, desire. Now, the Buddha said there's a way to seize this desire or attachment, and that will end dissatisfaction. And this is what he called the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, this made a lot of sense to me, and I sometimes, and it's something I could practically apply in my life, and I actually have done that, and I found it worked. And if something works, why don't keep to it? So why don't become a Buddhist then?
Okay. Becoming a Buddhist is a very natural process to me. I gained so much from the Buddha's teaching. My first Buddhist lesson is about impermanence. That was another awesome experience I had with Buddhism. My first thought was, why didn't I get to know about this concept earlier? Then I didn't need to suffer from attaching to permanence. I got to know about Buddhism 1.5 years after my mother's death. I was very sad then. I couldn't accept her departure. But when I was being taught the concept of impermanence, I got to see the root of my problem, my ignorance of the universal truth that everything arises, will cease. It helps me to get out of my pain. This is just one of the many examples that Buddhism changed my life.
So I think it's all made a difference in our lives, but I want to ask Hein as well, did taking refuge in the Three Jewels change your life?
Well, when I first came across Buddhism teachings, I did not immediately take refuge in the Three Jewels. At that stage in my life, I was quite skeptical and needed to investigate Buddhism and not to fall head over heels into Buddhism. And I have to say, Buddhism actually allows you to investigate it, question it, and I think even the Buddha said that's what we should, and that's exactly what I did. So I did some small retreats, not longer than a day and a night, meditation retreats, read a lot about Buddhism or about the Dharma, listened to Dharma talks, and as the teachers told us, practice meditation daily. And one can actually say I grew into Buddhism, because eventually you progressed into the way that I realized that this Buddhist practice had some meaning and benefit in my life. So I became inclined to take the refuge. So to answer your question, in what manner did it change my life? Well, first my mind became a little bit more focused and calmer. And I'm not there yet, so I still have to work at it. But that was at least it's now much calmer than it used to be. Secondly, my views about things became less intense, and the principles of cause and effect, or what people sometimes call karma, but it's actually more, I see it more as cause and effect, as well as the principle of impermanence gained much more space in my life. And I saw it around me. So, for example, I realized that the street I was living in does not belong to the municipality or the city. It's actually my street. Now, I'm saying this not in the sense that I'm the owner of the street, but in an interconnected manner. I live in a street and I need to keep my street clean. So Sunday mornings, very early in the morning, before everybody is up and going, I will get up and pick up the rubbish in the street and clean and have a clean street in that way. And I must say, sometimes it's quite nice because the municipality also helped me on some occasions.
So, on your side, how did this change you?
Okay. For my case, if I continue with just now my examples, I realized that what it makes the impact on my life is that I become more mindful. Like what Hein mentioned earlier on is with regards to either the environment or personally, you look at your emotions, you see the emotional changes, like for example, the anxieties. And when you see you are anxious, then you will take action. You will take actions to calm yourself down. Like for example, you can do meditations or even chanting the Buddhas. And once you're calmed down, you can go ahead and handle the problems that you're facing, because these are the problems that lead to your anxiousness, your anxiety. But first of all, we have to address our own anxiety before we can address the problems. The problems will be magnified if we add on with our emotional aspect into it. A very great impact on me with regards to being a Buddhist and applying what the Buddha's teaching us.
So, Hein, can I ask you, how has taking refuge in the Triple Gem assist you in your daily practice?
Well, Buddhism, as I said earlier, it's a practical, for me, it's a practical approach to life, and it's about practice and training. And the training falls into basically three categories. These are called ethical living, concentration, also sometimes called mindfulness, and then lastly, insight or wisdom. Now, each one is derived from the Noble Eightfold Path. So during the course of the day, as far as possible, and in a simple manner, I will consider whether my conduct complies with the 5 precepts, which is no killing, not to take what is not given, not to indulge in sexual misconduct, to be aware of your speech, and lastly, not to partake in any substances that affect your mind, basically alcohol and drugs, non-pharmaceutical drugs. So I make also sure then mindfulness, as far as I'm concerned, is a most important part of my life to remain focused and mindful of what I'm doing and aware of where I'm at that specific stage of my day, basically. So it takes the concentration. And in that sense, I think Buddhism gave me opportunity to be, well, if you want to call it that way, a more fuller life, in the sense that I'm aware of my life.
I think my next question is going to be to Hein again. Taking refuge in the Buddha, has this impacted on your mindset?
Well, without a doubt, it's still a source of comfort to me to know that a human being, which is a Buddha, was able to attain enlightenment and end suffering. It means I'm also able to do so. So it's possible for me also, and for everybody else. So the question is then, will I become enlightened today or tomorrow? I don't know. But I know as a human being, I have the potential, or if you wish to call it that way, the seed to become enlightened. And I can work in that direction. And I'm using word here with inverted commas, because it's not really work, it's more endeavor and effort that you put in to apply the Buddhist principles. And in that sense, the Buddha gave me direction. And if you wish, it's now for me just to walk the path. The Buddha can't walk the path for me. It's for me to walk it. He's shown me the path.
I see taking refuge in the Buddha as following the footsteps of a great being, like what Hein just now mentioned. He showed us the path, and not only he showed us, but he himself had tried out the path. So you know that this is a safe path. Although it may not be an easy one, it's a safe and guaranteed path to enlightenment. However, you have to walk it by yourself. And he always said that he realized the truth. He didn't create it. And in every refuge-taking ceremony, Venerable Master Xing Yun would always ask the participants to say, I am a Buddha. He wants us to follow the Buddha's footsteps and ultimately become a Buddha too. When you call yourself a Buddha, you will remind yourself to stay away from the unwholesome actions. Hence, when we take refuge in the Buddha, we aspire to become a Buddha one day.
Yeah, that's very, very truthful. Thank you for sharing with us. And I think let's look at taking refuge in the Dharma. How have the teachings assisted you in daily life, Hein?
Well, as I've indicated, the Buddha basically, as far as I'm concerned, pointed me into a direction. My mornings typically, most mornings will start off at 5 o'clock, and I'm not an early riser. So this is what the Eight Noble Truths is, making an effort. So for me, it's quite an effort actually to stand up, to wake up and at 5 o'clock. And then I will start by beginning to chant the 3 refuges, the Heart Sutra, recite the brief repentance 3 times, remind myself of the 5 precepts, the 8 realization sutra, the 4 vows, and then a 10 or 20 minutes meditation, depending on what time I've got. And then I will conclude with the transfer of merits. This will take more or less between a half an hour to 45 minutes of my morning. But I found just this small portion of time that I spent in the morning, I found my day is so much more manageable since doing this morning practice. So I can see basically the effect of applying the Dharma in a practical manner in my daily life.
I see Dharma is like a mathematical formula. Apply it to your daily problem and you can solve it. Just like solving mathematical problem, you need to find the right formula or Dharma to your problems. During Buddha's time, we have the Buddha. He was there to tell us which one to use. But now, well, we have to look through the Buddhist scriptures, or we may want to look for the Sangha to help us if we don't know which is the right formula, which is the right Dharma to address our problems.
Very much so. And I think that brings us to the Sangha. So taking refuge in the Sangha, has taking refuge in the Sangha made a difference in your life, your mindset, and your daily practice?
Yes, for me, the Sangha is the holy community of monastics, but not only the monastics, also the lay sisters and brothers, people supporting me. And I derive some comfort and confidence in the fact that all over the world, perhaps precisely at the same time that I'm doing my practice, there are people in temples in places as far away as Japan, China, Taiwan, Europe, the USA, Australia, and even so close as Nan Hua Temple, that are also engaging in a Buddhist practice or a Dharma function in that side. And incidentally, we might at that precise same time be chanting the Heart Sutra simultaneously. I can perhaps just add, during this time of lockdown, during the COVID, and I know, a lot of people felt isolated and so forth. Strangely enough, I did not encounter that feeling because, knowing that you're part of the Sangha, everybody's out there. So although we're not in the same space, so to speak, I took comfort in the view that all over the world there are other Buddhists, and if I do my practice, they might be doing their practice, and in that sense we are interconnected and together, if I can put it that way. And yeah, I know it sounds a little bit airy-fairy, but well, as I said, I derive some comfort from that. Thank you.
To add on with what Hein mentioned, I think during this pandemic, you will realize that we are now working beyond the borders. You can watch, all the YouTubes, and you join Zoom from various countries. Like in Fo Guangshan, different Fo Guangshan branches, they are coming out with even like forum like us, what we are doing. And then they have Buddhist classes and Dharma chanting. And you feel like suddenly it's not just limited to South Africa. You are in an even bigger community. So when you look at these monastic communities or the Sangha, it makes you feel that, oh, there's always someone there. They are like your mentors, they are like companions that helps you. And then like in our Nan Hua temples, we know we can't do a physical Buddhism class and meditation classes, but we do it online. So we practice together and it gives us greater strength to go towards our goal.
I think it's very true. I think COVID has brought us, although we're further away from each other, maybe closer together because it's so much easier through technology to connect. And I'd like to ask now to both Hein and Venerable Juedi, would you recommend taking refuge in the Triple Gem and why? Hein?
Yep. My view is simply, everyone should taste chocolate. Okay, that's in a lighter vein, but in a similar vein, I think everyone should be allowed to nurture, to water and care for a seed that we call Buddha nature. Now, Buddha nature is something that's innate in us. It's inside us, and we need to access it. And that seed gives everybody the potential to become Buddhas. And in that sense, Buddhism, and more specifically the three gems, are something that to keep for us, not to keep for yourself rather, but to share it with everyone. And I think I will really encourage people to take the Triple Gem. It gives you some direction. It's the water, if I can put it that way, for the seed inside us to become Buddhas. And we all have the potential to become Buddhas.
For me, I think it's a definite yes, because my previous examples of taking refuge in relationship has proved futile. Neither do taking refuge in wealth nor fame can lead to happiness. If you wish to achieve happiness, then go for it.
Why is taking refuge important?
Well, since early Buddhism, devotees express their faith through the act of taking refuge. They are the one who actually go to the Buddha and say and request to take refuge. And why do they do that? Because firstly, it centers on the authority of a Buddha as an awakened being. And by ascending to a role for a Buddha as a teacher of both humans and devas. And secondly, the taking of refuge honors the truth and efficacy of the Buddha's teachings, which includes living at the present moment and the path to liberation, etc. The taking of refuge ends with the acceptance of worthiness of the community or spiritual developed followers, which is mostly defined as the monastic community. But of course, we also have the lay people as well. So taking the refuge is making a commitment to the path of practicing Dharma. In fact, it serves in many ways as a doorway to realizing our own Buddha nature. The very act of walking through this door is one of setting a strong intention for one's life. It is a skillful or intelligent method that involves consciously moving towards our longing to be free of suffering, such that the momentum of our life flows continuously in the directions of wakefulness.
There's nothing I can add. I think the master have put it very well.